Man, what a busy last couple of days it's been in the world of professional wrestling. I would probably go on record and say this has been one of the busiest weekends in all of 2023. I just feel like it's never ending. All in, into all out, and then the bombshell that Tony Khan dropped on the pro wrestling world. He actually manned up and fired Phil Brooks, CM Punk, from All Elite Wrestling. That one piece of news, with Tony Khan dropping that bombshell, was bigger than anything that happened in the ring for All Elite Wrestling, because that's all anybody is talking about. Now, for better or worse, you may like the decision, you may hate the decision, but the decision was made, and honestly, it needed to be done. CM Punk is no longer with the company, and I commend Tony Khan for stepping up and having the balls to do something about it, as we can hopefully move on from all of this negativity and move on so that AEW can thrive and prosper for the rest of the year. Now, there is major news that's starting to come out in regards to CM Punk. Jesse and I talked about this literally 15 minutes after CM Punk and the news hit of his termination from All Elite Wrestling. Jesse and I went live in front of almost 6,000 people on that day, so go and check that out if you guys want our legitimate, in that moment reactions and our thoughts about how everything transpired from last year going on into this year, his return, and then the situation with Jack Perry, and obviously the lunging incident between CM Punk and Tony Khan. Now, I want to start there, because that is what is really being focused on right now, the lunging aspect. A lot of people are downplaying the lunging aspect as not to be that big of a deal. Apparently, it was a big deal. And apparently, it was something that Tony Khan said live on Collision. He feared for his safety and he feared for his life. Tony Khan addressed CM Punk's firing on Collision, not only in front of the live audience before the show, but there was a pre-taped segment with Tony Khan baked into the intro of Collision where he actually addressed him terminating CM Punk from AEW. Khan said that Punk endangered the people backstage, including the staff and production crew. Khan also stated that never before until last Sunday has he felt that his own security, safety, and his life were in danger at a pro wrestling show. Now, Khan talked about how this was something he did not want to do. Unfortunately, it was the decision that had to be made after internal investigations. He also talked about moving forward and wanting to put on a good show for the fans in Chicago this Labor Day weekend. Khan also addressed the fans live in the building, like I said, just before they went live on the air, and said the same things that were said in the pre-taped segment that was baked into the show. Now, a lot of people are making a big deal about, and actually laughing at, Tony Khan's choice of words here, that he feared for his life, he feared for the safety of himself and others there in AEW. Remember that they put out a statement for the termination of Phil Brooks, and they terminated him with cause. That is a big deal, with cause. So whatever internal investigation that they conducted, they found that with cause, whatever happened, they fired him with cause. I want you guys to think back to when the Khan family, who owned the Jacksonville Jaguars, fired Urban Meyer, the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. They fired him with cause. The reason why Tony Khan used these words, in my honest opinion, is because I feel like Tony Khan is basically covering his bases for a potential legal battle with Phil Brooks in the future. And he used these words and used with cause to back himself up so that it is a possibility that he doesn't have to pay Phil Brooks, CM Punk, the remaining money on his existing contract. They did the same thing with Urban Meyer. They fired Urban Meyer with cause, so they didn't have to pay him out whatever they owed him on his existing contract. So you can laugh at Tony Khan all you want about the words that he used and call him a pussy and call him all these different things. The fact that he feared for his life. You weren't there. You don't know how bad it was. Apparently, the report said that it was not just a lunge. It was a lot worse than just CM Punk lunging at Tony Khan. So if Tony Khan felt like his life was in danger, then he felt like his life was in danger. And if Tony Khan felt like his life was in danger, he's going to do that to cover his bases so that, if there is a potential legal battle, he's going to be squared away with that. So, excuse me, I'm still very sick. So with that being said, I feel like Tony Khan deserves a little bit of respect for actually addressing this live on the air when he didn't have to, when he could have easily swept this under the rug. Everybody knew exactly what happened. He went out there like a fucking boss and addressed the live audience and put it into the show to let everybody know what was going on. Don't expect CM Punk at Collision. Don't expect CM Punk at All Out. He's not going to be with AEW. He fucked up. He paid the price, and the punishment was just. Simple. You can't lunge at your boss. I don't give a fuck who you are. You can't lunge at your boss and expect to have a job the next day. And he's already fucked up time and time and time again while being here. So what did you expect to happen? So Tony Khan deserves a little bit of credit for actually taking it and doing the right thing. He addressed it, and he let everybody know what was going on. That takes balls, so I appreciate him doing that. There was another report about CM Punk and a potential meeting that was being set up by Tony Khan. This is before anything happened with his termination. There was supposed to be a meeting with the Elite, the investigation. I got news on that. Tony Khan, Collision, and Warner Brothers Discovery on what they want with this soft brand split now that CM Punk is no longer there. This is all coming from Sean Ross Sapp of FightfulSelect.com. Now, there was a report from Nick Hausman of House of Wrestling about a planned meeting with CM Punk and the Elite in Atlanta that got moved. This will be the subject of two sides telling their own separate stories here. Those close to Punk say that the meeting was scheduled to happen, while those close to the Elite are adamant that it was never going to happen. I mean, this is the same story we've been hearing for over a year now. Punk wants to work things out. The Elite doesn't want anything to do with it. Punk wants to talk to the Elite. The Elite don't want anything to do with it. And Punk can't really go on his own to talk to the Elite because there are lawyers involved and there's a no contact involved and all this other legal bullshit, legal parameters that are surrounding the Elite and CM Punk. Fightful has heard, at least, that a meeting was pitched, which seems to be something all sides agree with. So a meeting was pitched. We'd also heard, they say, that there was a brief interaction between the Young Bucks and CM Punk in London. But when we asked Punk's camp about that, it was clear he was frustrated that the Elite still weren't open to talking to him. I mean, it may not even be on the Elite. It's the legal parameters that are probably keeping it from accelerating any further. Fightful have not heard about Punk speaking with much of anyone thus far. The quietest we've heard out of the camp in quite a while, says Fightful. We haven't heard that Ace Steel will be affected. That is also a question. I'm surprised that wasn't really raised at the post-show media scrum after All Out, because you would figure that the reason why Ace Steel was even brought back in the first place is because it was requested by CM Punk. And now that CM Punk is not there really is no reason to keep Ace Steel around. Why would anybody in the Elite's camp want Ace Steel around after what happened last year without Punk being there? I mean, they got more than enough people to take a spot like that away from Ace Steel. So what the fuck is the need for Ace Steel? So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with him. But right now, he's still there and still employed with AEW. He's still serving effectively on an off-site or as an off-site consultant and is under a deal until September of next year. There was a meeting ahead of AEW Collision where talent was addressed on the situation. Not everyone who was in town for AEW or StarCast was at the meeting, and Fightful was told that not all of the information was relayed to people who weren't at the show. Many of the details haven't been made available, but talent were asked to not speak on the situation on social media. There were interviews during the investigation as well all week. The interviews weren't only with those who witnessed the situation, but those who had interacted with Punk throughout his run and several unrelated things were broached. Punk still, has his usual supporters within the company, though we have not heard of anyone else who knew the decision was coming besides those on the disciplinary committee. We have not heard the particulars on the Tony Khan CM Punk element of the story, but we heard independently that Punk had lunged at Tony Khan. Now, Brian Alvarez and Dave Meltzer were talking about it was worse than what was being reported. It was not just a lunge. It was worse than a lunge. So I don't know what happened there. We're going to find out hopefully more about that. Punk is supposed to have something to say in the coming days. Sports Illustrated said that CM Punk should be readying a statement of some sort, which is said to be explosive. I mean, this is not going to go away anytime soon. So it's going to be very interesting to see what comes out of this entire situation. So the specifics of the interaction between Tony Khan and Punk have been kept very quiet, as I would expect them to be. I mean, AEW doesn't really want that out there because that would be a field day for everybody. So everything there has been kept very quiet, but there were multiple exchanges throughout the day that were less than pleasant between CM Punk and Tony Khan, says Fightful. Now, on the Collision front, everybody's wondering what's going on with Collision. CM Punk is the star of Collision. He's no longer there. What's going to happen with Collision? Are they going to replace CM Punk with somebody else? Is the flow of the show going to be the same way? Is it going to deteriorate into an extension of Dynamite or become another Rampage? Because it really felt like a completely different show compared to Dynamite. Now, one source that Warner Brothers Discovery spoke to and AEW said that the direction of AEW Collision and the ending of the soft brand split that had existed to keep peace within the company may be coming to an end. Warner Brothers Discovery was also informed that AEW were going to terminate Punk. As of Thursday, the Young Bucks were scheduled for the Saturday show, and as of Wednesday, Bryan Danielson was internally slated to face Ricky Starks at the pay-per-view. Danielson replaced Punk, who was originally planned, though not announced. Danielson is expected to be an integral name on the AEW Collision side of things and was factored into the show heavily from the start. And that's the end of Fightful's report. Let's go back a little bit to the situation between AEW here, Tony Khan, and CM Punk. A lot of people continue to raise the statement of, Jack Perry should have been fired as well. And I keep hearing this on social media. I keep reading it on social media. And Punk is going to have his defenders, and Punk is going to have, his haters and all this other shit in between. Jack Perry should not have been terminated. Jack Perry, I never heard one report of Jack Perry having a problem with anybody backstage or causing a problem backstage. Jack Perry is to blame for this situation. He is. He's not innocent at all in this situation. He went out there on the biggest night of the company's history and said something that should not have been said. In the entire landscape of it, it shouldn't have bothered CM Punk, but what did you expect CM Punk to do, knowing the volatile human being that this man has become in just 2 years in AEW? So Jack Perry gets backstage. What does he expect CM Punk to do? Remain quiet? I can sit here and basically tell you that CM Punk should have threw his hands up, went to Tony Khan and said, hey, TK, handle this situation. I don't need to deal with this. I'm going out there to wrestle Samoa Joe to do my job on the biggest night that this company's ever had. I want to go out there and work. I don't want to deal with this childish bullshit. That's all that needed to be said. It's easy for me to say that, but I'm not CM Punk. I didn't have my buttons pushed by Jack Perry, where Jack Perry went out there and went into business for himself. He should have been fined, which he was. Tony Khan said last night on the Scrum he's indefinitely suspended, and that is the punishment for Jack Perry. Jack Perry has not had any previous incidences where he was in trouble. So a slap on the wrist and a indefinite suspension. Fine. He's paying the price. Punk has had this brawl out. And the next situation I'm about to get into is just one of many things that have happened with CM Punk. So let's dead the Jack Perry situation. Jack Perry is suspended. Leave it at that. CM Punk then lunged at Tony Khan, yelling at Tony Khan, saying that he hates this place and he quits. So basically, CM Punk got what he wanted. He hates this place. What the fuck you doing here? Tony Khan gave him what he wanted. You hate this place? There's the door. Goodbye. CM Punk got what he wanted. So the narrative that Jesse and I were pushing on the stream that we did the other day is CM Punk potentially wanted to be fired. He didn't want to be there and was looking for ways out so he could leave with a potential payday from Tony Khan. He thought that he would be able to get himself fired, at the same time also get fired with Tony Khan owing him all sorts of money. That's the feeling that Jesse and I got from this entire situation. And it's not that far-fetched to think about CM Punk potentially wanting to get himself fired. He said time and time again he hates this place. He even said it at the Scrum last year at All Out. He hates this place. He works amongst children. I mean, he called everybody, he basically told everybody that the elite can't even manage a fucking target. So, I mean, what did you expect to happen here? I mean, it was just a string of things, a string of situations that was eventually going to lead to what happened at All In. So CM Punk got what he wanted. Now, if I'm Tony Khan, I'm sitting everybody down. Apparently there was a meeting about this, a Collision. If I'm Tony Khan, in that meeting, I would have expressed to everybody on that roster, if you are visibly upset about the decision that I made, firing CM Punk. If I'm Tony Khan, I'm letting everybody go. If you don't want to be here because I fired CM Punk, then there's the fucking door. I'll let you go. Tony Khan should really sit down and kind of, rummage through his roster and go through who wants to be here and who doesn't want to be here. You're upset and you're mad that I fired Phil Brooks. You're pro CM Punk. If you don't want to be here for the decision that I made for the best interest of the company, there's the fucking door. He really needs to look at his roster and differentiate from who wants to be there and who doesn't want to be there, because we need to move on from this 100%. We cannot have anything else regarding this situation be a bother to AEW, and we cannot have any more backstage incidences like this or any tension backstage. It needs to be about the creative and the shows that they put on weekly, and that is it. People are tired, people are frustrated, and people are just overwhelmed with the amount of negativity coming out of this, and the roster cannot be happy as well, as this news is overtaking what was the biggest week in AEW history. So if nobody wants to be there, if I'm Tony Khan, I'm saying, if you are upset about this and you don't want to be here, there's the fucking door. I'll gladly let everybody out. Seriously. Now, the brand split. I don't know how you guys feel about the brand split. The brand split apparently, or the soft brand split that is effectively coming to an end, because this was something that was given to AEW Collision to make CM Punk happy and to make the rest of the roster who did not want to work with CM Punk happy. I am in the camp of splitting the rosters. A specific roster for Dynamite and a specific roster for Collision. There's no reason to watch Collision if it's going to be an extension of Dynamite. I'm not interested in that. Honestly, this would work best for AEW if there was a more than soft brand split. I want to see specific talents on Collision. I want to see specific talents on Dynamite. I don't want to see the same faces I see on Wednesday and then again on Saturday. There's a reason why it's kind of worked for WWE with Raw and SmackDown. You watch Raw for a certain group of talent. You watch Raw and SmackDown for different talents Monday and Friday. I think it works. Though I do think that they could end the brand split because they just give rematch after rematch after rematch. I feel like if AEW has a certain core group of talent on Dynamite and a certain core group of talent on Collision that are featured weekly, you don't need to do a complete full brand split. Have certain talents on Saturday, have certain talents on Wednesday. If you want to mix and match sometimes and take some Dynamite guys and put them on Saturday night a couple weeks and take some Saturday guys and put them on Wednesday a couple weeks, mix it up a little bit so the shows don't start to feel the same, I'm okay with that. But I do think that the soft brand split should be taken up a notch, and a brand split should be instituted on AEW television like it is on WWE television. That's just me. I feel like it would work in AEW's best interest because of the overwhelming number of roster members that they do have. So I feel like it would probably work out best for them. Now, the meeting, I mean, I don't know why anybody would listen. Tony Khan wanted to set the meeting up. Tony Khan was trying his best to get everybody on the same page. You got to give the man credit. He wanted to set the meeting up, but I don't know how likely that was going to be. If Punk wanted to do it, the Elite didn't want to do it. It's what Punk's side says, compared to what the Elite side says. It was never going to work out. It was probably too soon for Tony Khan to want to get people in the same room to talk things out. Things are still fresh. People are still acting childish. It might have been a great thing in theory for Tony Khan to want to do, but on the week in which they were going into All In, I don't know if that was the right move to do. I think he should have kept everybody separate and focus on the task at hand and worry about putting on a historic show at Wembley Stadium. That should have been the one thing that Tony Khan really focused on the most, but he tried. He tried, and you got to give him credit for that. The story that broke last night is something that I find to be absolutely ridiculous. This is coming from bodyslam.net and Cassidy Haynes. Now, we know CM Punk no longer with the company. There have been multiple situations that have led to his termination, and this may be one of those situations. William Regal. Who doesn't like William Regal? William Regal made his AEW debut last year at Revolution 2022. Unbelievable moment. Working with the company through the end of last year, forming the Blackpool Combat Club, one of AEW's strongest stables, probably their strongest stable in the entire company. On that same night, CM Punk defeated MJF in a dog collar match, starting his charge towards the World Heavyweight Championship in the summer of last year. Now, Regal's arrival in AEW was a huge pickup for Tony Khan. His experience, his knowledge, what he did with Triple H to build Black and Gold, to have that man on the roster was absolutely one of the biggest pickups that Tony Khan had done at that time. Multiple sources have confirmed with Cassidy Haynes of bodyslam.net about an incident that took place between CM Punk and William Regal, which occurred when Regal made his AEW debut at Revolution 2022. In the altercation between the two, Punk refused to shake William Regal's hand and then would get in Regal's face, telling him that he did not like him, he did not trust him, and that Regal was a stooge for Triple H. I mean, on that night, in that moment, was that necessary? I mean, he was brought in. I'm assuming the relationship between Bryan and Regal, which was documented on TV, was one of the reasons why Regal even wanted to be here. The Blackpool Combat Club, the pairing of Bryan and Moxley, and then getting Wheeler Yuta. I mean, look at what they've done on AEW television. Look at what came out of that. That was great television. William Regal added a lot for the short amount of time that he was there. And everybody appreciated William Regal. Everybody loved William Regal being there for the short amount of time that he was there, except CM Punk. Why was that? As a locker room leader, as someone who is a locker room leader, looking at this situation, right? If you're one of the young kids, you're seeing a locker room leader in CM Punk not want to shake William Regal's hand, fucking telling him to fuck off. You're nothing more than a Triple H stooge, and I don't trust you being here. What type of perception do you think that's going to give the rest of the fucking locker room if a guy like CM Punk, who was brought in to lead this company into better days, is saying that about William Regal? I mean, is the man unhinged or is the man unhinged? How many people are going to continue to defend CM Punk in this situation? Oh, Punk was wrongfully terminated. Oh, Punk, he's not at fault. This is William fucking Regal. Find me one fucking person in this industry that has anything negative to say about William Regal. Besides CM Punk, you won't find any. You won't find any. There's a reason why William Regal is back in WWE, because Triple H knows exactly what type of value he brings to the table for somebody like Triple H who's leading the fucking company into the future. But CM Punk feels like he's a stooge for Triple H. He's someone that can't be trusted. I don't want you here. I don't want to shake your hand. I don't like you. What a terrible fucking role model CM Punk has become. And it's been documented. What a terrible role model for the entire fucking locker room, if that's the case. Now, I know you're probably going to be in the comment section, well, you can't trust Cassidy Haynes. Isn't he the guy that reported that WWE was sold to the Saudis? He's also the same guy that broke Bryan Danielson signing with AEW 2 months before we actually saw him appear at All Out last year. Or 2 years ago. So I don't really understand what you're doing. So I do believe this story because it lines up with everything else. He's got a fucking problem. He's got an attitude problem. He's got an ego problem. CM Punk is a problem. Things have not changed with Punk. We wanted to believe things were going to change with CM Punk, but things have not changed with CM Punk, and it's sad. It's sad to see what has become. It's disappointing as a fan, and I'll end on this. It's disappointing as a fan to see how things materialized with everything that happened this week. There was so much left on the table. And I want to sit here and tell you I'm a fan of CM Punk, and I'm still a fan of CM Punk, but I'm disappointed in CM Punk. I'm disappointed he let his feelings and his emotions and his ego, his demons, get the best of him. You know, demons come in all forms, all different ways, different aspects, right? You got your demons if you're an alcoholic, right? You can't put the bottle down. Drugs, sex, pornography, right? All these other different things, all these different things that are going to fucking take you and just fucking, instill evil in you, right? Punk has his vices. Punk has his demons. These are his demons. I'm disappointed that we didn't get the CM Punk that we were expecting to get, a changed CM Punk, a different man in CM Punk, someone that sat for 7 years and said, you know what, I love this business, I love my fans, I want to give back and make this fucking blooming company better. That's the CM Punk we wanted. That's the CM Punk we thought we were getting. CM Punk didn't change a single fucking bit in 7 years. Now, when he left WWE, he was wronged. And I backed him 1,000%. A lot of people backed him 1,000%. That's why we wanted to see him back in pro wrestling so badly. But I don't know if anybody's going to want to see him back in pro wrestling after this current situation with Tony Khan and AEW. CM Punk came in letting us know, telling us that he wanted to make this a better place for everybody. Instead, he was selfish. It was all about himself. He was not the locker room leader that he was preaching to us he would be. And he came back for nothing but self-motivation and self-ego. He came back for himself. He came back nothing to do with AEW. And that's the way it ended up being. There was so much left on the table. It was a farce. It was all a mirage. The CM Punk fucking hype and the CM Punk making AEW better was nothing more than a fucking mirage. It was an illusion. He left MJF on the table with a possible third match and a unification. Money. How do you think MJF feels about that? Creative plans now need to change because Tony Khan had to fire CM Punk. Are we going to get anything addressed about the Real World's Championship? He already fucked Ricky Starks before the pay-per-view. Luckily, Tony Khan had Bryan Danielson on reserve, and they had a classic strap match last night at All Out. He left a match with MJF on the table, a match with Jay White, FTR, and CM Punk versus the Elite if they wanted to get together and do their thing. CM Punk versus Adam Cole, Kenny Omega. I mean, the matches go on and on and on and on as far as what could have been with CM Punk. So much was left on the table, and I can't sit here and be dishonest with you guys. I'm slightly disappointed. In fact, I'm greatly disappointed that it's resulted in CM Punk being a self-serving, egomaniacal maniac, and that's all it ended up being. It truly just came off as if he never cared about AEW. Now, is CM Punk to blame for everything? No, he's not. CM Punk is not to blame for everything, but if you want to look at the majority of the reasons as to why everything happened, you can go back and point the finger at CM Punk. The Elite are to blame. Hangman's to blame. Jack Perry is to blame. Management is to blame. Giving CM Punk too much power is to blame. Tony Khan is to blame, and the lackadaisical managerial team he has that just let shit go, they are to blame. Everybody has their piece of the blame pie. But CM Punk, seemingly, he was fired because of reasons of CM Punk. That's the basis of everything we found out this weekend. CM Punk was fired because of CM Punk. Honestly. And I'm very disappointed that we didn't get what we were promised. Guys, I hope you enjoy your Labor Day weekend. This is the extent of the news on CM Punk. We talked about the meeting that was planned with the Elite in the week leading into All In. We talked about the William Regal incident, the soft brand split, and everything else that came out about the CM Punk termination, including Tony Khan addressing this live on air with a pre-tape segment that was baked into the Collision show on Saturday. Anything else on the CM Punk situation, I will obviously give you guys content for, and I will be talking about all of this once again live with my guy Andrew Baydala tomorrow night on TNT, Tuesday Night Titans, episode number 12. We have a lot to talk about, so make sure you guys join us live tomorrow night, as I'm sure there will be more on the CM Punk situation. Guys, enjoy your Labor Day. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button down below, turn on the bell for notifications, and please go check out all the other content on the channel. There is absolutely a ton of it that I'm sure you missed. So go check all that stuff out. Guys, I'll be back tonight live after Monday Night Raw right here on Off the Script. I'll see you guys later.